Yeah, well, yeah, but I don't know. It's just hard because I'm trying to make my own experiences and live my life, and he's trying to shelter me because he's seen it all, like, so he's very, yeah.
I think even if he were trying to do that, granted, I don't know your dad at all. The thing that kind of like, oh my gosh, makes me roll my eyes is he didn't even communicate, like, I don't know what Darren was saying, he didn't even communicate the consequences. It didn't sound like he was like, would have been different. It was like, if he were to say, okay, if you go to this, you're losing your car privileges, and then you just go out anyway. No, but he didn't say anything, he just expressed disapproval, and he's like, go talk to your mom. And then if that's not a no, that's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go, I'll see that. And then he didn't try calling you, he didn't say get home right now.
Yeah.
Because like, if he were to say get home right now, would you have come home?
Well, I don't know if I could have because I didn't drive. I didn't use my car at all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even use the car. Like, I would have understood it more if I had used the car to go, but I didn't even use it, and so I was like.
That sucks.
And some people who struggle with that, I mean, this is veering a little bit off of motivation, but I think it's a relevant discussion. Some people who have power and control issues, which, not to say that this is the case,
Yes.
they have a hard time, a lot of times they will make illogical consequences for the act that was committed. And sometimes very extreme. You're not going to drive for a year, type of thing. It's like, well, we're not talking about the car. And it's easy, you could say, well, it's about the attitude, and there could be some relevance there, but it's hard for people to let go. Speaking as a parent, it's hard for parents to let go of kids, to see them grow up. And I think if we're a little bit more understanding of, and it's hard to because you haven't maybe lived that, but to be able to understand this is really an attempt to say that you love me. And it's hard to be able to see that. It's not what's coming out. It's coming out, you're taking away my privileges. You don't like me, type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think in many ways, indirectly, it's I love you and I don't want to lose you. I've seen too many things. And it's not an issue of lack of trust, but I think it's actually an expression of love. And that's more the parental perspective.
I know, I was going to say.
that is, again, I'm standing in for Dad here, just trying to defend Dad here, but I believe that's, if we can maybe try to be a little more empathic and try to put ourselves in the shoes of the other person, which is hard to do, especially if you haven't lived being a mother or father, in this case.
Yeah, and I do know that he was like, he's looking out for me because, it could be a bad situation to have a sleepover with boys and girls, but like, that doesn't mean it's going to be, like, I don't know, that's just my perspective on it, but his perspective is he's already lived it, and so.
So let's take this one step further then. How could you help coach your father in a facilitating way? Not telling him, but how could you? And I'd be interested, this is a brainstorm, if you don't mind.
No,
we'll use
please.
this as a good case study.
Please.
Invite Rob's perspective as well. How could you help someone like this in a facilitative way to help them see what they could have said or done differently? Again, you know your dad best, so you...
Well, my dad, he's very red personality type. He likes the power, and I'm very opposite. I don't like to be controlled, and so we clash. And so I've been having this problem my whole life, so I don't really know.
What do you think, Rob?
I think maybe validating his decision and then saying in the future and saying, okay, I see where you're coming from. I see why you're saying this, and I understand. And then expressing how you feel about it, maybe. Because as a father, I'm sure he cares to hear how you feel. I'm sure he cares to hear how you are as a person. And so to let him know how it makes you feel may be one thing that allows him to self-analyze and see if he took it the right way and did it the right way. But don't ever come out saying that he's wrong, because
I'll shut it down.
Knowing that he's a red personality type, saying that you're wrong is automatically going to be, it automatically becomes a right and wrong. Who's right, who's wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the way you want to go about it.
That's really good.
Rob brought up an important distinction. Right and wrong has a lot of gray area. And see, right and wrong is an interesting thing, because what is right, most people could probably agree of what is right. Well, we could probably come to some negotiated response that, yeah, that's right. In a lot of instances, we could probably do that. The thing is, when we talk about right and wrong, we don't usually address the motives behind doing what is right or wrong. Let me give you an example. I could do something that's right. I could shake Rob's hand because that's the right thing to do, but the motive for doing so could be evil or negative in nature. That doesn't make that act right. It's the right act, but not the right motive. And therein, we can betray ourselves. And so the whole idea of right and wrong, we really have to get at the bottom of what's the right motive, what's the wrong motive. That's a related side note. But I love what Rob said about the the helping him see, coaching him to become a little more empathic by saying, "Hey, I've been trying to understand. Dad, can I chat with you?" And to do it in private, so it's not a threat.
It's not an ego thing.
To be in public around other people, and say, I want to chat with you. I'm trying to understand what you were thinking, and here's some of the thoughts. You could go one of two routes. You could try to interpret your own of what he might have been thinking, or just say, give me your explanation. I want to understand your thinking of why you chose to give me the consequences you did. And then he may share what they were, and you could push him a little bit and you say, well, what about this? What about this? So you're just asking questions. And you could even preface it by saying, Dad, I want to ask you some questions. And I'm going to ask you some questions because I want to understand. And so it might be easy to become defensive by asking questions. And I just want to understand. And to be able to do it in a non-emotional way, some time has been removed since the initial punishment. So you can ask questions and set him up to know that he's going to get peppered with a few questions. And what about this? Help me understand this. But then to be able to say, do you know what I'm thinking and feeling? Or would you like to know what I'm thinking and feeling? And it's an invitation. Most parents, I think, would really like to know. And if he says yes, and say, can I be completely honest with you? And because I'd like to be completely honest with you, and I'd like to feel safe being honest with you. I think that'll potentially melt his heart a little bit. You're not doing it, you know what I'm saying? Because he's
Stopping him up.
well, just because if you have not felt safe approaching him in the past, it's suggestive of, I want to feel safe sharing I want to open my soul to you, and I want to feel safe doing so. And then to be able to say, this is what I thought, this is what I perceived, and I had a hard time linking not knowing that was going to be a consequence, that you were even thinking that. I would have loved to have known this, or I would have loved to have understood this, but I didn't see that. And then you're kind of coaching him on to being more expressive and to be safe. Because I also think that as you try to create a safe environment in which you can share, he, I think, possibly, maybe not, he maybe hasn't felt safe because of potential fears of saying certain things that might hurt people's feelings.
Yeah.
So just a couple of thoughts for what they're worth.
Yeah, I'll probably do something like that. He has been asking me, like, when I'll get home from work, luckily I only work like a couple of blocks away, so I can walk. So I have been walking to and from work. And he'll ask me, did you walk? And I'll be like, yeah. You know, just like, not like in a, yeah, I walked, you know, like, just be in a happy mood about it, you know, not disapproving his decision at all. But I don't know if that's the reaction.
Well, and again, what's the motive behind why he even asks the question?
Yeah.
Is it a self-congratulatory, I'm making her suffer? Or is it to acknowledge his power? You're acknowledging his power? You know, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
But not, and not that it really matters, because he's got to deal with his motives.
Mhm.
We don't have to deal with other people's motives. We don't have control over that.
Have you had like a lot of arguments with your dad in the past?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's
Butt heads.
so he's probably used to you talking back to him.
Probably, yeah.
He's probably really used to that. So that's probably why the whole